And welcome to the Krueg Show, everybody. Larry Krueger with you on a Tuesday for a Bear Sports Live rundown with the great Ryan Smith. What's up, Ryan? What's going on, man?
Hey, oh man, I'm feeling great. Giants won yesterday. Feeling just overall, my sports confidence is through the roof. I'm very excited.
So what do we got today? We got some good headlines for the day.
Yeah, so just because we never did, because of Memorial Day, we didn't do one of these yesterday. So let's quickly, Game 7 reactions. I mean, we can talk about the Jimmy Butler shot. Just like, here's a good question. Did that game kind of make you feel like maybe Boston isn't quite ready? Because if there was the right team, if that was the Warriors in that situation, they win that game. Boston chokes it away. But Miami just didn't have quite enough offense to take advantage of it. But so Game 7 reactions.
Well, I mean, my first reaction is Jimmy Butler blew it. I mean, he got impatient. They had all the momentum. They had held Boston down for Marcus Smart had missed like 3 or 4 shots in a row. And he didn't need to hoist the 3. And Jimmy Butler's game is not a 3. And there were 17 seconds left on the clock. He had Horford in a backpedal mode. Probably was going to be able to drive in for an easy layup. If not, maybe an and one. And he pulled up for a 3. And even if he makes the 3, they're only up 1 with 16 seconds left. Hardly, to me, I would have worked more clock, or I would have gone for the 2. And instead, he went for a very difficult lean-in 3, missed it, and Boston rebounded, and there was your ball game right there. So, I hate to blame Jimmy Butler because I think Jimmy Butler is an awesome player, and he's he carried the Heat at times in this series. But, the one thing I think you got to remember from this series is Boston went into Miami and beat them 3 times on their home floor. And Boston's been really, really good on the road. And now here come the Warriors, who have yet to lose in the playoffs at home. They're a really good home team, and how Golden State fares in those games at Chase, I think, determines this series. So, I think Boston and Miami are both dinged up. I think Golden State will benefit from the added rest. I like Golden State to beat the Celtics. I think the advantage that Golden State has is they have a lot of guys who can put pressure on the ball. And I think Golden State is taking care of the ball better, and I think they'll turn over the Celtics because the Celtics don't have a primary ball handler. And I think GP2 will return in this series and make an impact. And I like the Warriors to beat the Celtics in 6. And I think that Game 7 really kind of showed that, man, Boston has got an incredible starting 5, and Tatum is just playing terrific basketball, and they're well coached, and they're feeling good. But my other primary takeaway, Rye, was if you listen to the post game, you heard like 5 different Celtics say, "We finally climbed the mountain. We finally climbed the mountain." So you got to remember, oftentimes teams do things in stages. And I think for the Warriors, if they lose the finals, it will have been a bad year, because I think that's where they're at as a team. Where Boston, I think, is just happy to be there. And I know it's easy for me to say, but I just think that Boston has had such a hard time getting out of the Eastern Conference Finals that to make it to the finals is a huge moment for them. And I think they'll view this season as a success, win or lose. And that level of desperation, I think, benefits Golden State.
Absolutely. And, that's the last topic. We can hit a little bit more on finals predictions at the end. But, yeah, that sounds great. Now, moving on to our San Francisco Giants, I wrote down the Curt Casale game, because guess what? We, on our post games, we often talk about Joey Bart. And one of the things we started saying is like, well, has Bart lost them a game? And I think within 1 or 2 games, he did lose them a game, just like went 0 for with 7 runners and scoring, something crazy, and made an error. Curt Casale just won them a game. Curt Casale, not only did Webb just absolutely shove with him behind the dish, he had that unreal,
throw him out at second base.
Throw him out at second base.
Stealing, yep.
Unreal, and then hits the bomb. So the Curt Casale game, I think that was he's here to stay. He's the starter. Sorry, Papirski. Sorry, Bart. Your thoughts?
Well, I love Kurt Casale. I mean, I think this is one of the most underrated pickups in Farhan's tenure as the Giants, the czar of all that is Giants baseball. I mean, Kurt Casale's really underrated. We talked about it yesterday. He's better than his stats. He really is. I mean, his stats look okay, but he's a far better player than that. He's got the admiration of the guys in the room. Which means a lot to me. And then he's a really good catcher. Look at their record last year with him in the squad. I mean, he at pitch calling, I think he's good at managing a pitcher's emotions throughout a game. I think Casale's really, really underrated player. And then when his bat's going, he looks like a starting caliber catcher. And right now he's got the bat going. And, his first pitch of that at bat, he swung for the downs and missed it. And I thought maybe he'll dial it back the rest of the AB, but he didn't. And he got a low pitch and he golfed it out. It went way out to left. So the Giants need him right now. They don't have a young catcher in their system that's ready to roll. They're going with Joey Bart, and Bart's struggling mightily. And they need somebody else to catch basically the starters games and let Bart be more of the backup, like a 1 day, 2 day a week kind of a guy. And Casale looks like he's ready to step into that role. So it will be huge for the Giants because they need a little bit of offense and they need a really good, solid defensive catcher back there. And Casale, I think right now it looks like can provide both. So way to go, Kurt Casale. Huge win for the Giants to set the tone in Philadelphia, and huge win, a huge moment for the Giants and for Casale to kind of reestablish themselves. As they're playing decent ball, but at times their lineup has been lacking, and a lot of that's because you've got Joey Bart under 200. So the fact that Kurt Casale could step up in the moment and win them a game, literally won them a game, was outstanding to see. So way to go, Kurt Casale. And yes, in my mind, he's the starter going forward. Play him 5 days a week, play Bart twice a week, once or twice a week, and kind of switch the roles, at least for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. And, how about this for a comparison? All right, if we're thinking of Bart maybe as a little James Wiseman, what about Kevon Looney, Kurt Casale?
Yeah. Seriously, guys that nobody really is banking on, nobody has any high expectations for, guys who are better than their stats, guys who show up and are dependable, guys that are personal favorites in the locker room or clubhouse. Yeah, I think that's a great comp.
Yeah. Also saw he was born in Walnut Creek. Didn't grow up here, but kind of cool. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kurt Casale, Bay Area guy. Always loved Bay Area guys.
And then, you know what? Why don't we pay our sponsors real quick, and then we'll get to the last of our topics.
Sounds good. Right now, a moment from our sponsors. Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, Telmetrix.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coach Emilio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. 66. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Dan Coach Emilio and all the people at Secure Money for being proud sponsors of the Krueg Show. All right, welcome back to the Krueg Show. Larry Krueger, Ryan Smith with you on this Tuesday as we go through our Bay Area sports rundown headlines. But before we get to a little bit on the Giants, a little bit on the 49ers, let's welcome our newest sponsors. And thanks to Tony Casera and the good people at Casera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Casera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com, often imitated, never equaled. And they are a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. Thanks to them as well. All right, welcome back to Bay Area Sports Live as we break down the sports headlines of the day here in the Bay Area on a Tuesday. All right, so far we went Game 7 Eastern Conference Final, a little reaction to that, and a reaction to the Giants' walk-off win in Philadelphia on Memorial Day as the road trip continues. Rye, what direction are we going in now?
So this was one I wanted to throw in there because it's a little bit of like a temperature check, you know? We see Mookie Betts tearing it up for the Dodgers, Manny Machado for the Padres. I believe those guys are top 2 in WAR across all of Major League Baseball. And I was just wondering, in your mind, as of right now, who do you think is an all-star, is going to be on the all-star team? Who do you think has a chance? Who do you think's on the fringe? I mean, just throwing this out there. I mean, Yaz is, you know, I sorted by WAR in the National League, and the first Giants player to come up was at 33, and that was Yaz. You know, he's hitting almost 300, 4 bombs. Shockingly, or maybe not so shockingly for considering our previous discussion, you know who's second on the San Francisco Giants in WAR in terms
Luis
of
Gonzalez
position players?
No.
Kirk Sally.
Kirk, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'll say that the two guys that I would probably argue should get some all-star consideration. And let's be honest, nobody has had that monster year that you just say, oh, my God, the all-star team was not complete unless they have this guy. But I think you hit on one in Yaz. He's definitely had a bounce-back year. He started slow, and he's picked it up, and he's really playing well. He had a phenomenal May. Is that because of the mustache? We'll see as he shaves the mustache when we get to June here. But I'll say Carlos Rodon, as far as Rodon started the year early looking really, really good, like overpowering. He's come down to earth since then. But I would say, you know, of the Giants, you know, players this year, to me, he's probably the guy that I would get my vote right now for the guy who's been the closest they've had to an all-star. I mean, there's a number of hitters whose numbers are down. There's a couple of relievers with good numbers, but I would say it's either Yaz or Rodon, and I'd probably lean towards Rodon.
Wow. You know what's interesting? Okay, so I just did the same. This is interesting stuff. So I just, again, sorted by WAR in the National League and then just searched for SF. So number one in terms of WAR for our pitchers is Logan Webb at 6. He's 6th in the National League.
Okay.
Rodon is 20, respectable. Could you give me a guess for who you think may be at 16? It's prevalent. It's relevant for today's game.
Ahead
of Rodon, 4 slots ahead of Rodon. Our number
Alex Wood,
Junis,
Jeff Junis. Wow, or Jacob Junis.
Jacob Junis.
Wow.
Surprising.
Well, that's another nice Farhan move. I mean, Junis has plugged in that 5th spot, and he's been, you know, at first he was just, you could say, quietly effective. Now he's been consistently effective.
Seriously, I'm looking at these 33 pitches or 33 innings. You know, he's got a 2.76 ERA. I mean, come on, 10 runs.
Dan Coach Amelia weighing in the chat. He says, no brainer for the All-Star. It's Joey Bart. Look at that. Look at that.
That wins above replacement thing for Casale. I'm like, is that just because he's a catcher? Is it? I want a stat that's wins above Joey Bart. That's how I want to be able to judge all these catchers. Okay. Yeah. Also, I think Jock maybe has an outside shot. Just with all the bombs.
He's been really good too. Now, if he's been streaky, he's been really streaky. I mean, he's been incredibly hot and then ice cold, and we've already seen him kind of ride those streaks. But yeah, Jock Peterson has been a tremendous addition. First of all, to get him for 1 year and $6 million. I mean, my goodness, that might be the move of the offseason right there.
Yeah. No, seriously. Okay, moving on to 49ers. So I know there's a chance, everyone, that Larry may be dabbling a little bit at camp. And with that said, whether you end up going this week or not, what's the one thing or two things that you're most looking forward to seeing at camp?
Well, there was a great article today in The Athletic by Matt Barrows and David Lombardi. They did a sit down with Chris Forster, the offensive line coach for the 49ers. And Forster had high praise for Aaron Banks. He's bullish on Banks' potential to take over at the start as the starting left guard for Laken Tomlinson, who left in free agency. And one of the little notes in the piece that was put out by The Athletic was that Forster revealed that Banks was making significant strides last year, and that the coaching staff really considered replacing Daniel Brunskill late in the year with Banks, but opted to stick with Brunskill, probably for continuity's sake. So Banks competed with Dan Brunskill to start at right guard last season, but then he got hurt during training camp, and they put him behind the 8-ball. He was a healthy scratch several times in the season. He did eventually be on the active game day roster. He appeared in 9 games as a rookie, but all of those snaps coming on special teams. But Forster noted in the piece that Banks has toned down his body. He's 330 pounds. He says he has the ability to maintain, to play faster, to play harder because he's in better shape now. So also Forster revealed that Banks much prefers to play on the left side of the line because he played left guard at Notre Dame. So this is huge. This is the 49ers' second round draft choice, who we don't know anything about, because he really didn't get on the field from scrimmage at all this last year. We even saw Jalen Moore in the preseason. We really didn't see Banks at all. So the fact that the 49ers view Banks as the starter at left guard, that he's made these huge strides, that he might be the plug and play guy here in year 2 at left guard, is a huge development. So what am I looking forward to at camp? I'm looking forward to looking at 2 positions. The Niners offensive line for guys like Banks and Jalen Moore and the 5 offensive linemen that they added in this last draft or after this last draft as undrafted guys. I want to see what the offensive line depth looks like, and I want to see what the secondary looks like, specifically Talanoa Hufanga, who I really believe is going to emerge as not just the starter at strong safety, but maybe the best player in their secondary. I think Hufanga has got that kind of ability, and I think he's going to make a huge step forward. So 2 positions I want to look at. I mean, there's a whole bunch of individuals I want to see, but I would say offensive line, how are the young O-linemen progressing? And then the number of new faces in that secondary, from Sam Womack to Charvarius Ward to Hufanga in year 2 to Quantrez Knight and Tariq Castro Fields. I mean, there's just a number of new faces in that secondary. So to me, the 2 hardest positions on the football field to kind of coordinate are the secondary and the O-line, and you can't really be good unless you have a decent secondary and a decent O-line. So that's what I'm most eager to see at mini camp and at training camp coming up this summer, is the young O-linemen and the young DBs.
I think that's a great answer. And, going back to the Banks thing really quick, I mean, everybody talks about it. Like, I mean, yes, there are the guys that go in the top 10, the offensive linemen that, can immediately plug and play, or, right. Your Quentin Nelson's a guard, but still, like,
exactly.
That's those guys. But I mean, offensive line, all the offensive linemen in the media talk about it. It's like they're getting less and less and less reps. There's less and less and less of a focus, on development. And you know what? I mean, I don't think it's crazy to think that Banks needed a year. I mean, especially think about with COVID and everything. He might just need a year to sort of figure it out. And yeah, I actually wouldn't be surprised if he ended up being kind of a stud this year.
It's a technique-rich position. And you know what happens is teams that draft offensive linemen early usually are bad, and then they're usually forced to play those offensive linemen more than they should early on. And sometimes their quarterback pays the price for it. 49ers found a way to go a journeyman veteran offensive lineman last year, like Brunskill, like Compton on the right side of the line, and it bought them some time to develop and to kind of hone in on trying to coach up Aaron Banks, Jalen Moore, and now they've added two more draft choices, 3 guys after the draft. So they've got some young offensive linemen, excuse me, that are going to be in camp that are going to be, key guys. I think guys that may be starters in the future. So I think it's really an exciting time for the Niner O-line. They've got some quality depth. Last year they got by with, it's amazing, really, if you think about it. They got to the NFC Championship game and they had Tom Compton at right tackle. So that in and of itself was an incredible accomplishment. Now they've bought themselves that year to develop their young O-linemen. They've added some more young O-linemen. And this summer, it's going to be super intriguing to see of their young O-linemen, of the 5 guys they have, how many of them are ready to go right now, and how many can plug in at some point this year and contribute. I think it could be a major determining factor in how well Trey Lance develops in his first full year as a starter.
Yeah, this may be a dumb kind of fan perspective question because, of course, I just don't know how to break down, offensive line and, how these guys, how to develop them and whatnot. How much of a factor do you think it is? Because we've seen this now with Kyle, even in the Super Bowl year, like we're just plugging in random guys and the offensive line doesn't really seem like it breaks down. And how much of it do you think is just that fact that they have to go against this crazy defense every day with all these freaking animals like Nick Bosa and Armstead, and like how much do you think that affects, their ability to, develop, is just going against our D line?
I mean, it should help, right? It should help because you're going up against the best in practice and you're honing your craft day after day, going up against the best. So in the long term, it should help. It probably can be overwhelming at times because, as you said, the 49er defensive front is stacked, and it's stacked with all kinds of guys who have talent. There's a lot of strength. There's a lot of speed. There's a lot of talent. There's a big investment made in that Niner D line. So, yeah. So can you get the advantage of going up against these guys in practice as long as you don't lose confidence, both, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but offensive and defensive line play are huge. I mean, how you do on the line is a huge determining factor in your success. So I think, though, having a strong D line will, in the long term, make your young offensive linemen better for it.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Okay, and then last thing, we already touched on it a little bit, but finals predictions. I'm just going to say quickly, I think Warriors in 7. I think it's just experience. Boston's probably more talented. I think it's a rough matchup for the Warriors, but I think it's just going to be a big adjustment, man. Being on the finals, being the last ones there, like you said, they didn't so much as get over the mountain as fell down the mountain. You know what I mean? Like they pretty much collapsed, but Miami couldn't take advantage of it. So I don't think this team's ready to win a title. I think they're talented enough, but I think they're still a year or two away. So yeah, I've got the Dubs in 7.
Yeah, I like the Warriors too. I'll take them in 6. I do think Boston is really good on the road, and it would not shock me if Boston won game 1. So just get ready for that. I mean, if Boston wins game one, there's going to be this hue and cry and, oh my God, have the Warriors met their match? And, the Celtics have ownage and everybody's going to point to the record against the Warriors and so on and so forth. And I think what will happen is the Celtics will win game one. There'll be a huge, huge overreaction to it, both locally and nationally. And you'll get the feeling like, oh no, oh my God, the sky is falling. The Warriors lost game one. Then they're going to win game one, game two. They're going to win game one in Boston, which will be game three. And they're going to go up 2-1. I think Boston will pull even, and it'll be a 2-2 series coming back to Chase for game five. And then I like Golden State to win that game five and then to win game six in Boston to end it. I think the difference here is Golden State's deeper. They're healthier. They're more rested, and I think Golden State's going to be able to turn over Boston more than Boston's able to turn over Golden State. The Warriors struggled with turnovers early in the playoffs. I think they've done a much better job of taking care of the basketball, but still playing fast in the last round. And I think Boston's going to provide some huge challenges, but Boston doesn't have a primary point guard. They don't have a point guard. Marcus Smart is not a point guard, and Gary Payton is a tremendous on-the-ball defender. So I think Golden State will figure out a way to turn over the Celtics more than the Celtics turn them over, and ultimately a more rested, more experienced, more desperate Warrior team will win out, and I think it'll be in 6.
I think that turnovers thing is smart. I think also, even if, we have more turnovers than them, I think that we just have the pieces and the way we play to take advantage of their turnovers more than they will with us. Our turnovers versus the Warriors turn into threes and they turn into crazy runs and all of that. So I totally agree. And also, hey, the Warriors, I mean, I don't know the exact number, but it's like 25 straight series where they've gotten a game on the road. Warriors haven't lost at home all season. Granted, all playoffs. Granted, Boston's a great road team, but I think psychologically, it's just important to have that. We don't lose at home, and Boston has great crowd, but they know that they're vulnerable at home, and so I think that Boston max wins one game in Chase. The Warriors are guaranteed to win one game in the Garden, and then I think that's it. I think Warriors in 7. So.
Yeah, I mean, the other factor I think is key is that look at the way Miami defended Boston in the fourth quarter of Game 7. They allowed Marcus Smart to shoot the perimeter shot, and he's not a good shooter. Yep. So if I'm Golden State, I do the same thing. I throw different looks at him so he doesn't get super comfortable, but I'm sagging in off of Marcus Smart, and I'm letting him have open looks at threes, and I'm making sure that I defend Brown and Tatum and whoever else is out there, Grant Williams, force Marcus Smart to shoot that perimeter shot. And if he does, I think he'll miss a high percentage, and I think Golden State will win.
Yeah, he'll have one game where he goes off, and it'll be tough to beat him. But yeah, that's the next step for Jason Tatum is look, he made the right play technically by, he was getting doubled and kept throwing it to Smart, who was wide open. But look, that's the kind of thing that Steph Curry had to go through where you're getting doubled. And yeah, that's the right. You have to figure out a way to get the ball back and have even just a tiny bit of space, because Tatum has to be taking those shots down the stretch. As much as everyone's like, oh, it's the better basketball play. That guy Steph Curry, Draymond Green's out there. He's not taking any shots. Steph Curry will make sure to get the ball and be able to impact the end of the game and not put it in Draymond's hands. So yeah, totally agree. Super excited.
Also, let's also give Kerr and the Warrior coaching staff, which has been there and has all the experience. Udoka's a young coach, and this is his first go round in the finals for Boston. So let's see what their coaching staff has as far as wrinkles. I think if Boston throws a wrinkle in game one and steals game one, I think the Warrior coaching staff will react and adapt adapt. So I'll give the Warrior coaching staff a leg up on that one as well. Fun headlines today. Let's tell everybody, hit the like and subscribe button. We enjoy doing the Krueg show. Hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure you click the notification bell so you can be notified for all future Krueg shows. If you want to support the channel, support our sponsors, go to Caceres in Dublin, buy yourself a Krueg Show podcast t-shirt.
You're rocking it right now.
No, I'm going with the Caceres today.
Oh, the Caceres.
I'm going with the Caceres. Yeah, well, exactly. Go to Caceres in Dublin. I was going to say you can go to this store in Dublin and pick up the Krueg Show t-shirt, which is a good-looking shirt. Definitely a good-looking shirt. And we'll be back tonight. We've got tonight. What do we got later on tonight? We got Giants, Phils game 2. 3:45. So right around 6:45, 7 o'clock. We'll be back with you for the post game tonight, starring Ryan Smith, Dan Coach Emilio, and Ned Coletti's going to join us tonight. We'll get
awesome.
Ned's thoughts, and Ned will be back. We'll talk a little baseball with the former Giant assistant GM and former executive with the Los Angeles Dodgers, former GM of the Dodgers. He'll join us tonight, so we got a lot to look forward to. Good stuff, Ryan. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, bro. We'll talk to you tonight.
Yep. Excited.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah, we ain't never fall back.